Hey, so I'm back today, and I wanted to make a video on two specific traits that narcissists have. So just because someone might do something that I mentioned in a video doesn't make them narcissistic. You have to really look at the bigger picture. You have to consider all the factors. There's many things that goes into narcissistic personality disorder. We all know this. A good way to differentiate a toxic person from a normal person is if you have had a discussion with the toxic person, or the toxic person is aware that something bothers you and they continue to do it repeatedly. If they have ill intent behind their actions, you want to look for patterns, behaviors, repeated patterns, repeated behaviors, as well as defiance to change if something bothers you, and defiance to attempt to improve the relationship. Okay, so number one is the narcissist will try to gross you out or disgust you. So what I mean is the narcissist will show you pictures of things that are considered gross. They will talk about things that are considered gross. They'll do this at inappropriate times, like over dinner. They'll do this repeatedly, even if you make it known that it bothers you. So I think the explanation for this is that the narcissist or antisocial personality person, their brain is wired differently, so they don't feel revulsion or disgust the same way we do. So they're actually just trying to trigger that in us for their own amusement. I also think that maybe they get off on looking at things that are grotesque, especially murder scenes, any very brutalized crime scenes, things like that. This is from my own personal experience, from what I've seen. So an example of something that would be normal is someone that really loves the horror genre of movies. And something that would really strike me as being abnormal, in my own personal opinion, would be someone that is very obsessed with viewing crime scenes, seeing actual bodies, seeing people that have been brutalized, as well as showing obsessive behavior, obsessively talking about it, obsessively viewing it. Things like that would be abnormal to me, as well as exhibiting joy and getting a thrill off of something like that. I understand that some people do have that role and responsibility as their job, maybe if somebody works in criminal justice, but I'm talking about people that gleefully look at things like this and that get some sort of rush off of it. Also, another way that a narcissist might gross you out is maybe if you live with a person that is deliberately gross. Again, in my personal experience, I lived with someone who did not have plumbing that worked in their house. They refused to fix it, so that meant that they didn't have running water in the kitchen. They didn't have toilets that flushed, and I really believe that they get off on making other people live in that situation. So you'll hear sometimes people say that narcissists will shoot themselves in the foot just to hurt another person. Also, with the narcissist that might hoard, what you have to realize is the narcissist is choosing to live in those conditions. You will find that often they refuse help, they do not want to change, and it's very hard to understand, but a person living in that situation is absolutely choosing to live in that situation. It's benefiting them in some way. And even if they're just a victim in their own mind, or even if they can just go to the store and lament that their kids don't come to their house, etc., if they can be a victim, they will wholeheartedly embrace that situation. And they really do live in their own heads, so they will sit in the middle of a mess and they'll just think to themselves, I'm such a victim, and they'll love it the whole time. And a person's environment, while we're on this topic, is really a reflection of their innermost mind. So I really do believe that. Okay, the second trait is the narcissist will withhold sex. This is something that I went through with my past narcissistic relationship. And once again, I really feel like their brains are wired wrong. They do not desire affection, companionship, warmth, like a regular empathic person would. So for a normal person, it feels like you're being starved of love when you're being denied sex. And for a narcissistic person, they really get off on the power trip of withdrawing or withholding sex. So what happens, think about it, when your partner denies you sex? You end up feeling all sorts of emotions. So the narcissist creates a void in the relationship, and you experience all these negative emotions, and this is exactly what the narcissist wants. This is exactly what they get off on. This is exactly what they love. Naturally, if one person pulls away in a relationship, the other person is going to come in a little bit more. So they're going to be given more of themselves. They're going to be confused. The relationship is now off balance. So the person that is not receiving sex, the person that is wondering what went wrong, is the one that loses. So a healthy relationship is at 100%, right? So that means that each person maybe gives 50%. Maybe one person gives 40% sometimes. Maybe the other person gives 60% sometimes. And that, in a functioning, healthy relationship, goes back and forth. But for the most part, each individual is responsible for maintaining their half. And in an unhealthy relationship, one person may give 10% or 20%. So we're referring to the narcissist here. And this means the normal partner will have to take up the slack. They'll have to continuously give 80 or 90% in order to keep the relationship whole. And what do you think happens when one person is constantly responsible for that 80 or 90% of the relationship? The person's going to get burned out, right? So this is what the narcissist aims for. And this is a major red flag if you're experiencing this. If you're always the one that's coming the other person's way, you're always the one that's initiating everything, sex, whatever, vacations, you can consider that to be a red flag. Especially if the narcissist refuses to discuss any issues or admit there's a problem. It can be normal to go through phases in relationships. It can be completely normal for people to go through periods in their life where they can't give their all. And that's just life. That's just ups and downs. But we're talking about narcissists here. We're not talking about normal people. And that's all I have for today. And again, these are just my personal experiences, what I've gone through with family, friends, exes, and coworkers. So I will continue to make videos as I become inspired, and I'm glad that you came back and stick around my channel. There's plenty more coming. Thanks.